Hi boys and girls, today we are going to be looking at 15-1, which is making line plots. We're going to be looking at pages 400 and 401 in the textbook. So when we're looking at line plots, they help to display data using tables and graphs. So that's something we're going to kind of practice and work on today. So these are the steps that you would take, and then we're going to kind of look at an example. If at any time, please stop the video to make sure that you guys can write down your notes. So step 1, you're going to sort the data using a tally chart. Step 2, you'll draw a number line and choose a scale based upon the links in the table. The scale should show the data values from the least to the greatest. Then you'll write a title for your plot, and then you'll mark an X for each value in your tally chart. Now I know some of you guys are like, what? That doesn't make sense, Mrs. S. So let's kind of go over that really quick. So let's say I'm going to use the example that's in the book, okay? And the example at the very top of the textbook on page 400 says the length of Ed's nails in inches. He's got a nail that's 3/4, one that's 1 inch, one that's 1 1/2, another one that's 2/4, 1 3/4, 1 1/2, and so forth. So all of these are all of his nails that he has that are various lengths. So now what we're going to do is organize them using a table. And you probably would organize them at home using different little trays. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to cross them off as I'm going through them to make sure that I have the right amount. So 3/4, I'm gonna put a little tally mark right there. I have a 1, I'm gonna put a little tally mark, 1 1/2, put a little tally mark, 2 1/4. Ooh, we forgot to write that down. 2 1/4. Make sure that we add that in there. So I'm gonna put a little tally mark. On a 1, put another tally mark. 1 3/4. I will add another one right here. Okay. 1 1/2. 1 1/4. 3/4. 1 1/2. 2 1/4. 1 1/2. 3/4. 1. So now what I'm looking at is that I have, if you notice, so this is why it's also called a tally chart. If you notice, I have 3 that are 3/4 of an inch long. I have 3 that are 1 inch long. I have 1 that's 1 1/4 inches, 4 that are 1 1/2 inches. I have 0 that are 2 inches. I have 2 that are 2 1/4, and I have 1 that's at 1 3/4. So here's what I'm going to be doing now. So now I'm going to go down, and if you look, I have a little chart that I've designed. So for 3/4, I'm going to put 3 X's. For 1 inch, I'm going to do 3 X's. For 1 1/4, it only gets 1. For 1 1/2, I'm going to put 4. Then for 2 1/4, I'll put 2. And for 1 3/4, I'll put 1. So when I'm looking at this, sometimes you guys are going to say, well, wait a minute, why would we ever even need to know this? So first things first, if you guys notice, the smallest nail that he has is 3/4. And the largest nail he has is 2 1/4. When I'm using a line plot, I might be looking at, for example, your social studies test. And if your social studies test, I look at it and I use each question and I plot it out on a line plot to see what you got correct. Then I might be able to easily see, well, if you got this question correct and this question correct, but this question you didn't get, a lot of you didn't get correct, then it's a question that I can address with you guys going back over it. So sometimes a line plot can be used in class for me personally to help figure out what it is that we need to work on or what it is that you guys are excelling at. Okay, so if you guys notice, so basically we took our chart, we placed the data from this chart into an organized table of a tally chart. And then we used our line plot to plot the data. So now we're going to continue on and we're going to look in our textbook at page 400 and we're going to do some more practice. So on page 400, if you guys notice, I'm just taking this right out of the book. Draw a line plot to show the data. Okay, so I wrote the information down here. But now we just need to continue to practice. At 3/4 of an inch, they have 2 nails. At 1 inch, they have 1 nail. They have 5 1/4. They have 1 1/2. And they have 2 inches. Now, when looking at this line plot, something that I really want you guys to see is that they didn't just write 3/4, 1, 1/4, 1/2, and then write 2 here. Or sorry, my hand's in the way. They didn't write 2 here. They made it sure that it was spread out evenly. And you really want to do that to make sure you have a good understanding of where the data falls. So notice 3/4, 1, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2, 2 1/4. Notice I spread them out by 1/4 increments. And that's going to be really crucial. Also, if you guys noticed, I didn't need to start at 0. And I didn't need to continue on much further past. So, and that'll be kind of important when we look at the next couple of questions. So if we take a look at the set of data, we're going to look at question number 2. And it says, what does the line plot tell you about Marin's nails? Well, when looking at this line plot, I would say that he has more nails that are 1 1/4 inch long than any other nail. His smallest nail is at 3/4 of an inch, and his largest nail is at 2 inches, which is a little bit of information there. So now let's take a look at question 4. So question 4 is kind of going to be doing the same thing. Tommy wants to organize his collection of paper chains. He measured the lengths of his paper chains and made a chart. So first, we're going to plug in the numbers from our chart up top and place them down below. Notice, boys and girls, I started at 6. I did not start at 1. So that's something to kind of bear in mind there. So, and I did spread them out, but instead of doing fourths, I spread them out using half. So I have 3 at 6 1/2. I have 2 at 7 1/2. I have 4 at 8. And 1 at 8 1/2. So hopefully you guys are starting to kind of get the hang of this. All right, so now let's take a look at the questions that the book is asking us using this data. Use the data in Tommy's chart to make a line plot, which is what we did. What is the length of the longest paper chain? And what is the shortest? So the shortest paper chain is 6.5 inches. The longest paper chain is 8.5. And the reason why I really want to point this out and emphasize this is because some people might automatically look at this and say, oh, well, there's 4 X's here, so this must be the right answer. And that's not always correct. You really need to be very careful at reading what the question is asking you. Now, if they were to say something like, what is the measurement? What's the length of the paper chain that Tommy has the most of? Then we would say 8. If that, hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. So boys and girls, that is 15-1. If you guys would like to get a little bit more information, you are more than welcome to watch the Math Antics video on our resources tab of our website, or you can watch the 15-1 video on Pearson, or you can always send me a quick email or Google chat, and I'll be happy to set up a Zoom session and work with you on this lesson. Good luck, boys and girls, and I will talk to you soon.